Okay. So everybody ready to get started? Call this meeting to order. First thing, if we could review the agenda for the night. Anybody have any changes they'd like to see made to that? All in all done. May 17th meetings. We won't have a chance to review that. So entertain motions to approve those. Made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Seems like we have to do this at every meeting because we got somebody new on board. Maybe after 2 or 3 more, we'll go straight into business. But I think it'd be appropriate if we could just make a quick trip around the table to welcome our newest member. If you could just take a minute and tell John a little bit about yourself.
Susan Irvin, on the planning board profile. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm Derek Rowland. I was on the planning board as planner for Macon County for 3 years. I'm now a board member and planner for the town of Franklin.
Louis Penland. I was born in Franklin. For 30 years, I built golf courses. Set up a new division for Kelly's commercial nationwide. We're selling golf courses listed in them.
Good morning. John Underwood. I'm a builder in Highlands. I served on the planning board up there. Served on the zoning board. Now serve on the zoning board. And hope I can help you.
I'm Lamar Sprinkle. I've been on this board for a long time too. I'm actually a surveyor when I've got anything to do.
Peggy Patterson. I've been in real estate 40 years. And this is my second meeting on the planning board.
Welcome. My name is Larry Stanger. I've been on the planning board about 9 years. Retired businessman, but still active.
Well, I'm Matt Mason. I'm New County.
I'm Carl Gillespie. I'm 6th generation from Franklin, North Carolina, Macon County. Apologize for not calling you ahead of time. Welcome, but I'll say welcome. We appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I think you've got really bring a lot to the table. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
One item I want to inject into the agenda. As you know, we've got a new chairman. We had past chair who took us through a turbulent time, took us through a time when we accomplished a lot. I know he spent a lot of time outside of the 45 minutes to 4 hours that we meet at a time. And put together a lot of information, worked hard on it, and I don't think that should go unnoticed. He was paid extremely well for the job. There's nothing left in the budget. I got it. So, but despite that, I think it would be good to recognize those panels for the job that he's done.
Now I'm paid.
Thank you. Put some of that money back in the budget now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to check it clear.
Judy, have you got anything?
I have no comments. I was just going to introduce John. Brent Taylor is in the meeting. He's pretty new, so John Hollins and Macon County Board of Commissioners.
Has it been explained to him that he has to always make the motion to adjourn.
You got some big shoes to fill there.
I'm not getting, what was it? I'm not getting compensated like he was.
Public comment, we got a member here from the press, you want to make any comments, or want to move on? No unfinished business, get straight into new business. Matt, you want to talk about that just a little bit, and we just start doing kind of line by line.
This sheet you've got here, the staple packet with the gray lines on it. You'll follow through the agenda and compare it to what we're going to be talking about. 159.10, there's a couple definitions we need to talk about. And some we'll probably have to come back to once we get closer to the end. We'll go through everything, hopefully, that's on the list tonight. The only comments I got were from Larry, and from Susan, and those are the ones that are in the gray boxes in which section they apply with. I do have some more from Al tonight that I will bring back to the next month's meeting about community water standard. So, you ready to start?
Okay. First one, 159.10. And I'm going to work off the sheet that he referenced, so maybe we're not stay on the same sheet. Says we need to revisit the definitions of incidental subdivision and access road.
We do. You can also follow along the ordinance, John, it's in the first part of your notebook.
Chairman, I had to interrupt in this little order of procedure here. Do we need Mr. Jennings here, Chester? I think we discussed the last meeting. I think the county commissioners had offered him to be here. I see he's not here. Is that something that we need to be addressing?
You know, we had a lot of discussion whether we needed him here, or whether we needed to find out when he needed to be here and ask him to be here. The problem with that is, by the time we figure out we need him here, then what are we supposed to do? Put off what we're talking about until we get him here. So I was kind of under the impression that he was going to be here.
That was what I understood.
Yes, I didn't follow up on that.
I'll make sure that was my apologies if I was pushing my fault.
I make that, as it's previously discussed. Six.
It's incidental subdivision. 159.
That's why I was asking. See, we had an issue with revisions.
Are we talking about that comment that I made? Are we talking about that now, 159.10? That's on page 6.
Yeah, that's in crosses municipal town.
Page 6, it's the,
Well, I'm missing.
down toward the bottom, all caps.
You've got another one.
I've got one of this. You got just like that one.
I've got all the pages and all
There it goes. I'd say we can just talk about Susan's comment on 159.10 and just move to the definitions of rear professional user without putting it up in the discussions.
So we're gonna commit to these two definitions until.
And then Susan, we'll go ahead on your comment.
Is everybody okay with that?
On the 159.10, that comment still?
Yes.
It's just that in the one portion, the notation on the plat that it doesn't meet the minimum requirements for the Macon County subdivision ordinance refers in this section, it applies to spur roads, but not to access roads. And then if you get over to 15964, which is inside the ordinance, it refers to access roads, but not spur roads. So it's just an inconsistency in wording. And I think the intention was that it would apply to both. Is it not?
Yes.
So we just need to make,
We're going to clean that language up once we get Jimmy here.
yeah, so that's all it was. That was just a note, it was just that I noticed that that was inconsistent.
Anybody have comments about that?
15931B, that was removing the landslide hazard map designation. That has been approved by the commissioner.
It's on page 8.
Yes.
I had made some note. I didn't realize, I thought we were supposed to bring questions to the meeting with us and not send them in ahead of time.
Phil, the biggest loser.
I even asked like 3 times. I still didn't get it right.
Yeah, we only said it 6 times.
So do we want to wait and go back at a later date?
We're not going back.
Okay. Then I have a question on 159.22 for appeals.
Okay.
Should there not be some consideration for like a variance or some other avenue of special consideration in lieu of court?
Yeah, I think it's the state requirement. We can't, as a planning board, we don't address as a grievance. We can't, and the Board of Adjustment doesn't. Jack, I think we got in that discussion before.
There's simply an issue with that.
Yeah.
So, but
We don't have the authority.
Right.
Well, I would think there'd have to be a different board than this board. It'd be the Board of Adjustment, I would think.
No, I was on the Board of Adjustment, and we had a subdivision issue, and after we ruled on it, it was overturned, but we didn't have a jurisdiction, it had to go to the state level. That's a question, that's a good question, what Chester should ask, just to be sure.
And what we can do is Matt can go ahead and forward that on to Chester, and then that way he comes to be prepared.
Well, I want to see if I understand what we're saying. We're saying that there's no way that they can be somebody that you can go talk to and work it out if there's a problem without going to court?
That's what I read it.
That's what, yeah, but it seemed to me like there would be some way
Some way to figure it
to
out.
do it without
I
going
would
to
like it
court.
to be, yeah.
Or a variance process.
Generally, when you've had some kind of review and you're not satisfied with that, then you have to go to court. But there ought to be some way.
First pass, anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can be worked out. You won't be able to write this thing where it cover everything. I don't care what you do.
Maybe we let Chester advise us what the procedure should be, and then if it's allowable, then maybe we need to come back and address that with some kind of review type.
It seemed to me like that there are a lot of things that between the people with the county do the enforcement and some kind of there ought to be some discretion about a lot of things, because it's going to be very difficult to get a black and white copy here that covers everything that's going to come up.
Do we have
I
an appeal
think
process?
you and I talked about that the other day.
What are y'all doing, building?
The sign ordinance and the high impact land use ordinance kicks up to our board of adjustment. And Superior Court of Wake County, you know, it would be the same.
You would think it would have gone to the Board of Adjustment.
But another thing I think is key, and this is a long way down the road, you know, if this is changed to incorporate that Board of Adjustment, if it's going to use the one that's in place now, or they're going to create a new one, they need to have some formal training in Board of Adjustment, quasi-judicial processes, and Chester would probably need to set in on all those hearings for that.
district there.
Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to go back. Can I ask a question about one of the definitions? We happen to be in if you just take this look at it, we had council one time advise us to use, you see the underline word public road.
We're good.
On page 6. When we look at the definition of public road, it's a road maintained at public expense and under public control. I asked a question about the board's intent if this should remain public road.
Where you at, Gary?
I think it's intentions for private road because looking at the definition that mentioned in the subdivision, the division of land from a parent lot into 2 lots, not involving the dedication of the public road. The county has the authority to dedicate a public road for any use if it is true public road and the road maintained in public expense and under public control. It will be a state county road. Understand?
So you're changing, saying reword incidental subdivision.
Yeah, no, just remove the word public because you got a private standard road is a road within the subdivision. That's the road that is dedicated for use of the subdivision. Is it not? No.
Well, I think an incidental subdivision, as we were thinking about it when we doing that, was one that was on like a state road. Maybe you had 7 or 8 lots of a state road and there was no new road being built. Then that could come under incidental. Or if there was 2 lots like that, I guess that's what it was.
Only
Just 2 lots.
two
There was
lots.
no road, no road involved except already a public road.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't want to get off on a rabbit chase here, but I'm just questioning the use of the public.
We're chasing rabbit now. Let's go ahead and run.
I didn't really mean to start completion.
Yeah, you did, Jack.
No, I didn't.
That's a good
I
chance to
really
get it
didn't.
wrong.
You did a good job.
Well, thank you, but I'm just not sure.
Well, if you think about that now, the division of land from a parent lot into 2 lots, not involved in the dedication of a public road, that probably is not very good language for it. So if we can say that if it was, there's got to be a better way to write that up.
Not involving in creating a new road.
Yeah, not creating a new road or
Using them
a new
established
subdivision
existing
road or something. I don't know. That's what we talked about though when we talked about doing it. But then you want to get into the fact that there's a lot of roads that are existing roads that are these prescriptive road right-of-ways that there will be lots on that's got a right-of-way on that, and it is a public road, not public maintained, but it's a public road. But you're not dedicating a new road. You're going to have to decide if that's going to be an incident.
Can a public road be a road, like, let's say all of us are on the same land, and we have one road joining all our properties? It's not a public road.
Because it's not maintained at the public expense.
But if we all chip in,
But
you're
still
talking
be a
about
private
a private road.
road. Still be a private road.
it'll be public. So instead of saying.
Public road is a state road.
State land.
That's what I thought.
That's what.
Because we're a county road.
Or a city.
Yeah.
So instead of saying a road maintained at the public expense, why don't you say a road maintained at DOT's expense under DOT control?
But then let's still do the change your incidental subdivision.
The definitions can stand as is, but I'm not sure it's public.
Jack, would you think it would suffice to just say the construction of a new road?
The dedication of a road for this subdivision.
Yeah, I think it'll just take public out of it.
Yeah, just take public out of it. And whatever you need to do to put the language up there. I'm not so much worried about it.
I think that's probably okay, because you're going to have, that's going to happen. There may be a road that comes up through a piece of property. There may be a lot of property owners on it that's not a public road. It's a road that's been there for years. And somebody may own 2 acres up on that road that they would split. And that ought to be an incidental subdivision, because you're not creating any kind of road to serve those lots. It already has the road, even though it's not a state road. So I think that's good, good thing.
Chime in when necessary.
A rabbit and a rabbit. We'll get back on track.
159.42. 31B's already been voted on.
Oh, I know, but do we have to do anything with that?
Chairman, Board of Commissioners already voted on that. We just don't have that copy yet. So I'm highlighting that just to bring it to attention. Flip on over to 159.42, if anybody got anything before that.
I have 41.
Okay, let's go to 41. That's page 11.
Yeah.
These are review for minor subdivisions.
Item E.
Which one?
Item E.
E? Okay.
I just wasn't sure why it was relevant what the use of the adjoining property was to one subdivision.
I think, Chris,
Forgive me for not being around here the first go around.
I think all the discussion in the past was that we'd end up with someone that said, well, this is a minor subdivision, and I own 100 acres behind it. And then after that's finished, we'll start another minor subdivision, and then
Just stack them.
just stacking minor subdivisions. And if that's your intent, just tell us.
Right.
Maybe you could change that to say land adjoined, owned by the developer or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think
Because
I have a
you-
problem. I mean, to
You're not
me,
gonna know what
it's,
your neighbor's gonna do.
right, it's not even,
Right.
it's not my business what my neighbors do.
Exactly. But I think, I see
But I
what
think
you're
it,
saying.
but I would agree that if you
Owned
would
by the
own the
same party.
existing parcels, that it would be relevant to the.
It's under the same control.
Yeah.
That could be an LLC with different names on it.
Still going to add to it, under the
And existing uses land adjoining the same land.
Well, and Lewis has a valid point, and you could have someone that had 10 LLCs.
Yeah. So you would have to state something that they would have to say they have no ownership in the.
No vesting or.
No
I could say that
Yeah.
Chester could do something.
You have to go ahead and.
I've said it to many developers, I don't know they think.
We want Chester to. Do anything in Chester.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know for sure.
I don't know if this is the time to mention this or not, but we've had it come up several times where there were, say a man's got 25, 30, 50 acres of land, he's got 2 or 3 houses on it. He wants to cut them off. We wound up having to survey the whole acreage in order to cut those out. Because they're calling, say you got 2 lots coming out of the 3rd lot, a lot. We need to correct that because it shouldn't be that way. Land shouldn't have to have, it could be 100 acres. But you want to sell 2 acres around 2 houses that are there, or you shouldn't have to survey that whole tract of land to do that. And as it stands right now, you do.
It says that in here.
The parent tract is being called the 3rd lot, or the 2nd lot as such.
Well, you're a subdivision, I mean, you divide the first.
No, you can't, it seems absurd to me to call a man's got anywhere, he's got a large tract of land,
Yours is B, Lamar,
and he's got,
the bounds of the track.
yeah, that needs to be fixed. Because we had the one up there on the Highland where the man had 40 acres and he wanted to sell 2 houses out. We had to survey the whole 40 acres in order for him to cut those 2 tracts out. And that's not, that shouldn't happen.
Can you just survey the relevant property lines?
Well,
Or somehow
if
write
you
it
do,
that
then
way?
no, but under this ordinance, that's not legal. You know.
Right, but I'm suggesting if you could.
Should be able just to do the 2 lots and leave the other alone.
Shouldn't the boundaries of the tract be on the file?
Well, they're on file, but they're not on the map. You can't put them on the map if you haven't surveyed.
There's a lot of lands on that survey.
And that goes, that issue, you know, the more I think about it, that issue goes deeper than, that issue goes to like the issue we had last December in Holly Springs about where you just want to chunk, where they want to chunk it off a little, where the intention of the developer, which is fine and good, is to chunk it off piece by piece. And the intention of the county is we want to know, you do have a 100-acre tract right now, and we want to know what your intent is via because of the subdivision ordinance to do with that whole 100 acres. So you've got two conflicting interests there. And that's what that was designed to do, I think, was to prevent them from.
I don't believe you really want to do to prevent them from cutting off acre to itself.
No, I don't. That's what he's saying.
Fix it where that's perfectly legal to do.
I think that's your two conflicting things
You could do it
that
in
create
major
this whole
subdivisions.
problem.
Well, there will be a lot of people that will have acreage, and they'll be wanting to sell off pieces of it. We're not going to see in this county any more great big major subdivisions anytime soon. You're going to see people cutting off small pieces of land to sell because they're either having to or for whatever the reason. And I don't think we need to try to prevent that. Unfortunately, they have to have the whole thing surveyed just because they don't sell a piece of it.
Well, would you have to have it surveyed every time you sold another lot? I mean, every time you
You're
came
going to have to have it on the map, and if you record a map, you've got to map it, and if you update it, you've got to survey it every time.
But for those major subdivisions, the county's not asking now to record a plat with them all split off. The county's just asking to have a preliminary.
Well, now on the preliminary, that's different.
Just something that we can have in the planning department so we can see kind of what the intent is and where the roads are going to go and where the lots are going to be.
If we're talking about preliminary,
So that gets into your phases.
that's no problem.
That gets into how you define a phase of a major subdivision. And if you want to drop that number
But
down.
you're going to have this happen a lot of times with people that are not developers. They're just selling off a piece of their property. There's a lot of places where there's several houses sitting on one piece of property. And if a person decides to sell 2 or 3 of those houses, he shouldn't have to have that whole tract of land surveyed if he don't want to, just so he can sell off some of the houses. Or I wouldn't think that he would, and I wouldn't want to if I was, well, I've got several pieces of property, it's got 5 or 6 houses sitting on it, and I wouldn't want to have to do a whole subdivision of that if I just chose to sell 2 or 3 of those houses.
So you divide those houses into a phase, and then the rest of the remaining land would be another phase, right?
So you're saying if you declare it a phase, then you don't have to have the whole thing surveyed?
Well, if you declare it a phase, it says that with your.
Shouldn't be considered at all, because you're not planning on doing anything with it.
Well, in the phase, the definition of that in the major subdivision, with your first phase, whenever you sell a lot out of the first phase, before you sell a lot out of the first phase, you've got to have the first phase recorded. And the phase as defined in the ordinance right now is 8 lots to a phase. That's what, Jack, that was what we found the intent of it to be. Was because a major subdivision has to be at least 8 lots. And you do have to, so there is a requirement there if you're going to, and that's where we got to with Terry Dalton. And he did 3 lots and called it a minor subdivision because he didn't want to do 8 lots. But if he would have done 8 lots and recorded that, he could have left the rest of that track. Phase 1 had been recorded. But see, what if somebody wanted to buy a lot over here in the phase 2 that was 50 acres that hadn't been recorded? And that's the situation you run into. It's not going to be a cookie cutter. Everything's not going to be a cookie cutter.
It's hard to write it on the basis of somebody's intention. I mean, to say they don't intend to subdivide it, it also has to apply to people who do.
Well, 2 years down the road, their son could decide, well, I'm going to subdivide this whole place.
Well, I don't know exactly, I'm not sure that that I have the skills to write that in, but we need to fix it where if a man wants to, he's not a developer, it's land he owns. He needs to be able to cut out a piece or two of it and sell it without having to consider the whole tract. Because those people on the Highlands Road apart, they'd owned that land for years, and it was 2 houses that they had rented. And they decided to sell it. And then we forced them to spend $5,000 to survey the rest of their boundaries where they didn't need to do that. They wasn't going to do anything with it.
What kind of language could you put in there that wouldn't be abused?
I don't know, but
I can see an opportunity.
You'd have to have some discretion, seems to me, like on things like that. I don't know that I know exactly how to fix it, but it's something that's going to come up numerous times.
But on the Highlands Road, there's a difference between a man that's going to cut two houses off and he's got 50 raw acres back there, and a man that cuts 2 pieces of land out and he's got 15 miles of infrastructure in, of roads.
Oh yeah,
of roads.
There's no comparison.
Right, and that's what we run into on the Highlands
Yeah.
Road. Now, if that guy had 2.5, 60 acres, 3 miles of road stretched back through there, I mean, it's clear that his intent is not just to sell 10 acres.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
We need some way to distinguish between the 2 things, so that the man that just wants to sell his 2 houses, or, well, even if he just wants to sell a couple of lots because he needs the money.
Could you put a time thing on it, if there would be no further subdivision for a period of how many?
Well, again,
Years?
you don't know.
Well, then that would be
That's
saying,
hard to-
if he doesn't have the intent to subdivide, then he should be able to declare that he doesn't. If he doesn't know, then he should come under the regulation.
I wouldn't want to restrict my land that way.
Well, but you might could restrict it and say, if you do sell another piece within a year, then you have to survey it all. But if you only sell 2 acres within another year between, then you don't have to.
Our ordinance does that already.
He's not come in with a preliminary plan. He's not planning to do a big subdivision. He's just selling off 2 or 3 pieces of his land.
How does it
It's
already?
not
do
too
that?
hard to distinguish between that, doesn't seem to me like.
It already does that because it's a minor subdivision. If you'll look at the definition, a minor subdivision is defined as a subdivision containing no more than 8 lots which have not been subdivided within the previous 1 year and does not require a new road exceeding 1,320 linear feet. It says a major subdivision is defined as a subdivision not meeting the definition of a minor subdivision. So when I cut my 3 lots out of my 40-acre tract and I want to come back within a year and cut out 2 more, the minute I do that, it kicks into the definition of a major subdivision because it no longer means which have not been subdivided within the previous year. So I automatically kick into a major subdivision if I do that, because I no longer can say that I have not subdivided my land within the previous year. So I'm now a major.
You're protecting from that bump to the next. The bump that Lamar, I think, is the first 2.
Well, I think you could, if you just don't consider the parent tract, if you just let him do, if he's going to do 7 lots, that's a minor subdivision. Don't make the parent tract the 8th or the 9th lot. It's got nothing to do with it, really. I've always thought you ought to be able to keep the rest of that property to do whatever you want to with, if you're not filing a plan to subdivide the rest of it.
If you cut, I mean, I guess the question maybe is at what point, at what number of lots
But our cutoff is 8.
are you getting out of into a subdivision?
Well, if you go over 2, you're in a minor subdivision. So, but to me, if you got 100 acres of land and you cut 7 1-acre lots out of it, that other 93 acres is not a lot.
But again, we're trying to deal with intention, and it's very hard to do that in an ordinance unless we did some kind of thing like the number of years. Because we can't just say, well, this guy doesn't intend to and this one does.
I don't know why we even worry about that. What people do with their land is their own business. What we need to deal with is what's happening.
Well, we want the subdivisions to be developed in an orderly way. And if your intent was to not follow the provisions of the subdivision ordinance by doing it 2 lots at a time, then that's subverting the intention of developing in an orderly way, intentionally subverting it. And that's what we want to avoid.
Or we're going to actually assume that everybody's a crook and that we've got to try to protect them.
No, but we don't assume they're all sweethearts either.
I think you got a man left there with 93 acres of land. It's no different than it was before. It's just less of it.
And what really is bad is when you do an incidental and you want to cut one lot off that 93 acres and you're telling that man that he can't subdivide that 93 acres again for a year.
Shouldn't do that. That already stopped. That's not.
That's where it really
It's not right.
is a kicker. I agree with you.
But you're not telling him he can't do it, you're just telling him he's got
Go
to.
away.
They might subdivision.
The incidental, it says, an incidental division shall not be subdivided for 1 year following the principal division.
And we don't need that. If the man's got, if he's cut 7 lots out, and 6 months later he decides he wants to sell some more.
So really, you're telling him that he's got to be a major, because if he does that and he subdivides his lot into 2 lots that year, you cannot, and a minor is defined as subdivided within the previous year, so you're telling him now, you got to kick into a major, you got to have at least 8.
But when you're selling that many lots, you're in a commercial endeavor, and it's not a problem.
Well, certainly. But somehow or other, we need to fix it where the man that's got, well, I'll use myself for an example. Let's just say I've got a piece of property out there in Longview. There's about 20 acres of it. It's got 4 houses and, I don't know, it must be 8 or 10 mobile homes that are sitting on a lot. And if I decide that I want to sell a couple of those houses, I shouldn't have to consider that whole piece of property just because I want to sell a couple of the houses.
Should you write something in where there's an existing structure on the property?
That's what I was just thinking about.
Well, it's
Versus
certainly
all
need to
of it.
protect people from that because, I mean, there's a lot of houses sitting on 100, maybe 200 acres of land.
There's people that have to sell to survive, and they can't afford to survey the entire thing for the property. They may need to sell, just not wholesale, not in the subdivision. They want to sell 1 lot just to live on, and have to sell another lot off of it. And they're not interested in selling the entire property, but some people are in such a financial situation that they have to sell to get the money to survive.
Well, I said you can do 1 of 2 things. One is you can change your incidental language for your incidental subdivision, or you set up a variance process, or something like that.
But they still have to survey the entire perimeter of the property.
Well, yeah, what good does that do? I mean, I don't see where that serves any purpose for anybody.
Well, I think the intent, of course, how many years ago was this we talked about it, but I think I remember us talking about the intent was to be able to see where what they're putting out was in relationship to this whole tract of land. But I think the thought is, yeah, it's 2 lots, but if you're selling 2, you're going to sell 2 more.
Well, you could have them submit a sketch of it to show where they are. You know, it's no problem. But the final plat shouldn't have to have that on. I mean, it'd be all right to say, bring us a sketch map, show us where this property lays in relation to the rest of your property on a sketch.
So site plan.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to survey it and go to expense.
As long as it's recorded, I mean, you know what's there. According to the deed, right? I mean, I know they're 98.
It wouldn't be no trouble if a man come to me and he says, I've got these two houses out here on this 30 acres of land, I want to sell them. They're requiring me to give them a sketch. Well, I can do that. That's not a big deal at all. And then that serves the county to know where that's being done. But yet, when the final surveys are done, it can just be just a little lot.
So you're thinking that sketch of the outer perimeter of the property would be on the preliminary, but not on the final?
No, there's no, I don't see where that sort of thing is any good anyway.
Thoughts? Really?
I mean, they're still going to build the roads. I mean, if he builds a road, it's still going to come up to the standard. Because you don't want, I mean, if they start out to sell 2 lots this year, and then next thing you know, you got 20 of them up through here, and a little pig trail going to it.
Well, that's not, no, I'm not, that's a different thing than what I'm talking about. Most of what I'm talking about, there'll be roads there already.
So you're looking at the situation where there's the 100-acre tract, and there's 5 houses on it, whatever it is. And the houses are there, the roads are there, infrastructure's there, everything's there, times are tough, and I'm gonna sell 2 of these houses that I said I would never sell because I gotta have it.
That's basically what we've encountered. We've had a problem here. Is that right?
So it sounds like there should be some exception for existing roads.
Or is it existing structures?
Existing structures.
Talking about selling the
Well,
house.
you're also going to have people that have, there's a lot of property that has roads, existing roads all over them and through. There's numerous places in the county where they may be 8 or 10 property owners on a private road that has no right of way. It's just a road that's always been there. And you've got to make allowances for that because those roads can't be brought up to standard. They don't have no right of way.
Well, here's going to be the
We'll have to
problem.
accept them.
Here's the problem, and I just went through this, and we talked about the board of realtors. There's not a lending institute in the United States will loan money on a house that's on a road like that without a road maintenance agreement.
I live on one.
Well, I was going to say, there's hundreds of them out there.
There's deals falling through now because they can't put FDA, nobody will loan on it. If there's not a road maintenance agreement, say there's 5 lots up through here and 3 on the sign and the 4th one won't, and the 5th one they're trying to sell, nobody will loan on it.
I ran into
Well,
Evelyn a few weeks ago, and she was saying, I asked her if she had any input, and that was exactly what she said, that she said that she was gonna get to the point that she would tell clients, I can't sell your house if you can't get a road agreement. I live on one of those roads too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that what Evelyn was saying is that it's changing, that she's getting.
Oh, it's here.
Well, that's really got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That's looking backwards. We can't fix that.
I know,
No.
but if you
What
start,
we're thinking.
what I want to make sure is we don't start this, and then the next thing we know, you got 20 up through there with no maintenance agreement.
Getting back to what I was concerned, it seems to me that it would be easier to address in a situation where there's existing structure. Because then
Or existing roads, you're going to have to deal with those existing roads.
it would be easier dealing with if there's an existing structure there, because then you tie it all the way to the lot and the existing building, that nothing new is required. So that you can start backing out from that and create some verbiage that protects you to be able to sell that. I think there may be the potential for a loophole when it's just raw land. And I don't know if those need to be addressed separately or if that can be addressed in the same verbiage. But I agree with you, that needs to be addressed, but I think we need to consider both of those.
If I may, if all that the board is intending to do is remove the restriction that there be a boundary survey, why don't you just say that?
Does anyone have an issue with that? How would you put that?
Martin, now.
Well, if you're saying that a man's got, well, let's just say the tract of land that we had up on the Highlands Road, there was 30-some acres. It laid on both sides of the highway. There was 2 houses that sat there. They had roads existing to them, all state roads. And if they could have cut those 2 lots out, and which is what I did to start with, and left the rest of that tract of land off, then I was told that they had to have a survey of the rest of the tract of land before they would record the map. If we could get it where they don't have to do that, then that's fine with me. I think that served the purpose.
Can you just say the boundaries of the portion of the tract to be subdivided?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
But this says the sketch plan should contain the following. It doesn't say anything.
The sketch plan, now that ain't no problem. The
It's talking about
sketch,
41, right?
But B says the boundaries of the tract and the portion of the tract. B's.
It just says it should be existing. It doesn't say that it has to be surveyed.
Yeah,
That's a sketch plan.
Sketch.
But it's also, the same requirements are on the final
yeah,
plat.
it was in there. I don't
The
remember.
final plat for majors and minors is 159.56.
That's way on. Okay.
I mean, I may have jumped the gun again.
Well, let's just go ahead and finish running that rabbit now.
Page 17.
Yeah.
We should say it.
What would be wrong with saying in 15941B, the boundaries of the portion of the tract to be subdivided, and leave out the boundaries of the tract and
Yeah, I think that would
Where is it at?
It's not. That's the sketch plan, so that's good.
So the why?
Yeah, you got
Look on page 17, Lamar. We're trying to find it on the file.
you have the old one.
56. 59.
It says, it says existing sketch.
Well, it says lots. So are they considering that parcel a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening. You're considering the parent tract a lot, and it really is not. And we don't need to do that on none of this stuff, even minor subdivisions.
Hold on a minute. Where does it say that the boundary survey has to be on?
It's going to kick, that lot's going to kick it in. Because you're saying that the remaining of that 90 acres as our subdivision ordinance is written is still a lot. The parent land on tract.
But I don't see what it says survey.
I think we can put
That
a,
is a survey.
It says the plat must show the following.
All that should be on the preliminary and as-built plat.
How does the tax office
Lots,
know
lots,
you move
lots,
that lot
lots,
from?
Well, what are you saying, that the plat requires a survey?
all we'd have to do is say that the parent tract wouldn't be a lot. Wouldn't be, for purposes of this ordinance, the parent tract wouldn't be considered a lot.
Because your lot layout and your lot size, if you're counting that parent tract as a lot, your lot size is 92 acres.
I've never understood why if you got 50-acre tract of land and you're cutting 2 lots out of it, how does that 48 acre become a lot anyway? It shouldn't be.
Is it the consensus that that is the case?
It is the case, as far as how it's being handled so far in this ordinance. And in the town of Franklin, it's
So we want to leave it alone.
I just thought I'd tell you that.
You could just heard
Our friend.
You're going to that.
Our friend today.
He's working on that.
I'll come up right in and get that straight down.
Aggressive.
you want a picture.
They get off the back about these signs first.
Well, it may be a while then.
What would be the downside of not doing the outside perimeter plant? I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out what the purpose of it doing in the first place. What was the intent?
Well, I think it just got, we showed it, we said it'd have to be a sketch map, we showed it, and then I think it just kind of got added in here. It really don't say that as such. I didn't see it that way when I did that up there. But that's the way it was interpreted, as you remember, that third piece, which was about 28 acres, was a lot.
Who interpreted that?
I'm not saying.
Does he wear pink
We
shirts?
probably moved on. I mean, is it the general consensus that we need to figure out a fix for this, I think?
Yeah.
So, the question is how can it be simply done by definition of lots that parent crop is not?
Parent property does not become a lot of any type of subdivision.
We have to then define parent property.
So,
The original parcel.
But I mean.
Well, maybe we may need some help with Chester to get that written up like it needs to be, so it makes sense.
How do some of these other counties have their subdivisions address that issue? I mean, we're not the first one that come up with this issue, so I wonder how they do it.
Well, the only thing I can see creating any issue, not only the issue I'm talking out loud, is like some of these subdivisions that were built up and they were left halfway in the process, they were left halfway finished. It would actually be, and now see I'm talking myself into it now, where you got multiple parties that are coming in, but it could be a nightmare to talk myself back out of it. You got multiple parties that are coming in and buying different chunks of that subdivision. Because there's a lot, that's what happened with Legacy. You can look at it over in Jackson County, like a 4,000 acre subdivision. They had many different owners coming in and buying up the chunks of that subdivision. And now there's so much incompatibility and incongruity in that subdivision, and this became a lawsuit nightmare over there. I was talking to Gerald Green, the planner over there.
Well, the way you keep this from getting distorted, in my opinion, if a man has brought in a plan for a major subdivision, it's already pretty well laid out before it ever becomes a subdivision. That's not right there. So it's going to be different from what we're talking about here altogether. I'm talking about people that are not subdividers, they're just people that own the property. They're trying to sell it. I don't want to protect developers and make it easy for them to get away with anything, but I would like to protect the general public that own property and run into this property. So we may need to talk about Chester.
Let's, if everybody's okay with it, let's put that rabbit back in the cage. And we'll be Rivers Chester as well. And let's let him give us a definition on that loss so that it would exempt that parent tract.
I'd also like to, Mary, I'd like to see what other counties have done, how they've addressed this.
Thanks, Larry. We have somebody that's available.
You want to go around hunting?
Also be interested to know what other towns have done to address that.
I know. Once, it's not a big issue in town because you're not got big tracts of land.
I agree.
As far as the
We did
additional cost.
41, and we're going to talk about this way too, so we're at 159.42. 159.42 is on page 12. It says final plat for minor subdivision. Somewhere in here it says
7 copies.
7 copies.
47-3.
Yeah, that's right. At least 7 copies of the final plat shall be submitted. We do not want 7 copies.
How many would you like?
We would like to see the original and at least 1 copy. and a digital copy. So that if Lamar calls up and says, you know, we got this or something, we can enter it. Homeowners Association.
Anybody got any heartburn with that?
Well, there's somewhat of a statutory legal issue with that. I don't know. I mean, I know what my statute reads, but you have to have an original signature and date for the document to be legal.
If you're asking for a digital copy, like a DWG file, that's about out of the question. If you want a PDF.
No, it's just a PDF.
That's fine.
Just something we don't have to keep.
The only
photos.
thing is, it's gonna have something on the signatures or the problem.
You just stamp it preliminary or
You
something.
just have to do that, and if you can accept that, then that's not a problem.
I'd like to see something like that, and then when you submit your originals that you need signatures on, we just sort of trade hands on those.
Yeah.
Or, that'd be 7 copies is what happens, we sign 7 of them. It's costing them a lot of money for no reason.
There's no reason to have 7, I agree.
So we're gonna have one original,
Which we did
and
that.
then an electronic copy that will be stamped, that will be noted, laminated.
And one original, one copy, and
And
one.
in PDF.
I will certainly entertain a motion to that effect.
Acknowledge.
Any further discussion?
Who made one?
All 4?
Is that enough to go through all the administrative?
On a minor, it's just a minute.
Did within time?
We're gonna talk about the waivers in a minute.
Okay. $159.52.
Can I make a comment on 43?
Yes.
Sorry. I'll have my notes together next time. In everyone's hand before the meeting.
159.43, page 12.
About halfway down, subdivision administrator must notify the subdivider in writing advising him or her of the delay, the nature of the delay, and an approximate date as to when the decision can be forwarded. I'm not sure that the nature of the delays, I mean, it could be personal info. Why is that relevant? If you don't approve the plat within 14 days, you have to send me a letter telling me why you didn't approve it and what the delay was. It may not necessarily be my business what the delay was if it was personal in nature. Well, I mean, so you were diagnosed with cancer in that 14 days period. I mean, why is that anybody's business that I was diagnosed with cancer?
Just put bigger person.
No, if that was to happen, we got somebody else to handle the issues. If that's denied, we have to legally notify you why we denied it.
Yeah, I thought that's what that meant.
Yeah.
Why the denial?
Yeah. What's his delay?
Or delays could be,
And then the next question I had in that section, it says subdivision administrator may employ the mapping department to confirm their accuracy of the final plat. I don't know that the mapping department's always accurate.
If it's a final plat, and the
I mean,
surveyor.
then the PLS is professionally liable for it.
I would have thought the only thing the mapping officer would look would be to see if it met the county statutes. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be checking the plat.
Yeah, not that.
Well, it says
No.
confirming the accuracy of
Yeah,
the
that-
final plat.
But I guess what it was trying to say was that
Maybe
it had the proper notes
all
on it and the
information
proper
that
stuff
should be contained
for recording.
in the map.
That's what we
There.
were getting at.
I mean, accuracy may not be the correct word,
No.
but I think the thought was it needed to go before the mapping department, as with a lot of other ones.
Well, it has to anyway by state law.
Did you just change
Because your
accuracy
review
to
officer
completeness?
It's 47, it certifies it means 4730, no?
Well, he really ain't supposed to. They've gotten to where, he's supposed to check it to see that it meets all the county ordinances. The design of that was, that's where getting recorded that it missed, they didn't go with the county rules.
and the sizes and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and
sheets out.
they were supposed to check it to be sure that everything was like the county,
Just
all the
says
county
May
people that
employees.
signed
Just
off on
giving-
everything.
It's just, it says May employees, giving them the latitude to get the mapping person involved if necessary.
Right, but do they really have the authority to double check the accuracy of their PLS survey? Under what authority do they have to do
It's
that?
bound.
It's not meets and bounds that they're checking,
I
isn't it?
mean, I would say no to that, but yes, they certainly have, Mary Ann Chester could answer this, but I would think that they certainly would have, as this is being submitted to the county and they're a county agent, and employee, that they would have the right to review that if it's called for in court.
Okay, so then what happens if there's a discrepancy that meets and bounds? They say one thing and PLS says something else.
I don't think they're supposed to be checking that. I went to a seminar on that last year, and the guy from the Secretary of State's office was here. Review officers are supposed to be checking for that the things are on the map that the state and the county requires to be on the face of that map to be recorded. Not that the acreages, the lots are right, or that,
That's your baby.
yeah, that goes to the surveyor, and he's liable for that.
The
But it's,
completeness of the final plat.
Completeness, that was the word I was looking for.
completeness would be better,
Take out the word accuracy and quality.
it ought to be, they could be,
Confirm
There could be some
completeness
better-
of the final map.
Okay with that, completeness, compliance?
Has anybody got a problem with that?
well, I think combined state and county regulations would be better to say that.
He wants to say something.
But that's a Chester question.
Yeah, he could probably come up with some better verbiage for that.
Yes. Get it where you can't understand.
Yeah.
That's such a deal.
That work, Chris?
And that says may there, and don't say shall, so.
No, but it gives them the
But
power
it,
to.
I see your point.
You got any before
If we,
52?
if we can get you past accuracy, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Another rabbit in the cage. What's next, Chris?
Certificate of approval for recording? I think since this is a minor subdivision, that it should say minor subdivision regulations of the county, not just the I mean, it just seems to me that call it a minor if it's a minor when you're certifying that it's recording.
What we do is we use that language so that surveyors don't flip-flop back and forth and get using it.
Okay, that's fine.
And then what we do is stamp it minor.
Oh, so there is another stand?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That was what my baby requested. Anything else?
Floor is yours.
Same section, sorry. On page 13,
All right.
the final plat approval shall become invalid if the final plat is not recorded within the required amount of time. And it said, somewhere I read 7 days to record.
Last sentence, or next to last sentence. One quarter.
Okay. Are those business days or calendar days? What's that?
I don't know why, I don't remember us putting that in, I don't know why it's there.
Bet you I'm not gonna put it in there.
Isn't it in the absence of specification, you assume calendar? Isn't that the rule?
Yeah.
In the absence of specification, you assume calendar.
Well, is that what we want to do? Because what happens if they do it right around Christmas?
Well,
I'm just trying to be. Give them 5
I
business
don't
days.
remember us on the planning board ever agreeing to put that in.
Put
I don't know
seven.
why it's there. What difference does it make? You can prove it if they don't never record
I
it.
think what it was to keep it from
Or maybe
assigning
it's-
something and never getting recorded, and then 10 years down the road, it's changed or something, and somebody says, well, I had this approved or something. It's just a point to say, go get it recorded.
Well, of course not.
So,
to,
Well, you don't record it till you sell the first lot.
Right. That never happened.
If you put 7 business days, that would take care of holidays and weekends.
So we want to amend that, and add business days, like you said.
You could make, why make it 10 business days, that 2 weeks to record on that week.
Department feel like that's
all that issue. I don't really, I can see 6 months, really, because, I mean, I can see where you couldn't just give it an open-end date for the be recorded, because somebody might lay out for a year or two and then record. So probably it wouldn't meet the Macon law after that, but they changed it right regularly.
You might as well change that to major subdivision at the same time.
It reads the same way, doesn't it?
I mean, if it was me, 7 days would be all right, I'd take it to the court, but that is
10
pretty,
business days, and it's 2 weeks.
that'd be good even.
What would you say, Jack?
I think it's on page 16 now. 159, 53, E.
You know, we might ought to think about that a little bit. Sometimes lawyers record those things, and sometimes they don't, that their schedule don't move as fast as.
They never worked about that, have they?
No.
It's 2 weeks, not sufficient.
Well, yeah, I guess it is, but I'm trying to think of what could it hurt if it was 30 days or something. What bad could come out of that?
I think that's more, I mean, it's not something that we would necessarily, every plat say, okay, well, this is recorded 14 days. It's the one that's not recorded within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I think I understand the concern and need for a date, but I'm thinking 30 days might be better. So you got a lawyer on vacation for 2 weeks.
I like 28.
20 days? Business days? That kind of
So if you go 20, Mark will go 19.
Here we go.
I think I agree with her, we'll just be 20 business days.
Oh, Lord.
I'm fine with any of it, I don't bother me too much.
I know that.
Some people are buying it.
But there are people that, there could be times when that could be hard to meet.
Yeah, but you'd think that they'd come to Matt and say, listen, you know, it's hung up in the lawyer's office, it's in the hopper, it's in whatever.
Theoretically, and I agree, but theoretically, he doesn't have the power to say
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
what, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if it was approved and 14 days later, if somebody wants to bring up,
Favoritism or, yeah, I see.
you know,
So
Let's say 20 days and go on.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Business days?
Yes.
20
Business days.
Second.
159. We're gonna, let's do it for both the minor and the
Yeah.
major.
For my,
Yeah.
That's my motion.
Okay.
4. 5.
You'll be on that.
159.52.
Let's see if Chris is going to speak. 159.52.
Good, Chris?
I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
This is preliminaries for a major subdivision. Language in there says at least 7 copies of the preliminary plat. I think we need to keep that for a major, a minimum, because you've got planning board and technical review commission. The only thing I'd like to add is the digital language to that too. We're getting digital copies from mine for speaking for the major.
And we stand. Preliminary. Partner, you make? Motion. I'm pretty sure.
Come on, get you a green chair.
It may take 2 or 3 of us to get it on, but we'll get it on.
I've got to agree with all of it, I won't worry
I bet they stay there. I'll second it, or somebody else.
In favor?
All right, Chris. Susan had a comment on that too. Susan, you want
Well, the way I wrote it was because the feeling inadequate preparation and review may have occurred for some divisions and some subdivisions in the past, I think it should be required and routinely done that the reviewing board, which in this case is the planning board, have access to the plat 15 days before the review and have the chance for an on-site visit as well. When we were going through some of the stuff on Wildflower, there were a lot of questions, and the planning board hadn't really gotten to look over those, plats ahead of time, and some of us kind of wanted to go up to the site. And so, it's saying that they have to have those in, and I just think that it should be known that the board would have access, so it is in 15 days before the board has access, and if you want to request a site visit, you can.
make sure you do that. The only thing I can't guarantee is it's on-site visit.
Yeah.
You got to be careful on on-site
I
visits.
can't do that.
Well, you also can't do it as a board member with another board
That's
member.
a public meeting.
But is that the same if you're not making a quasi-judicial decision?
You're just looking.
I mean, the planning board's not acting as a quasi-judicial capacity. That's why I don't think that the
Yeah.
planning board needs to serve as a technical review committee anyway.
Right, yeah, because I'm thinking zoning.
Right. I think that the technical review committee, being as we don't have that many subdivisions come through, and developers, when they do get one, they're wanting to do it right then. And I mean, if they have to wait for 35 days till the next planning board meeting, I mean, all that we've done in the past is I reviewed the subdivisions, made sure they were in compliance, and just come back and regurgitate it to the planning board, and we had 100% vote yes. So I mean, I think the administration's extremely competent enough to review and make sure that the subdivision meets. And I'm not saying the planning board didn't, I'm just saying I think it's another step. I think it's another step that's not needed. It's just it's a regurgitative step. I mean, if the administration's going to certify that the plat meets the requirements, then why should it have to come before the planning board for review?
I just think if the planning board is going to vote for it, then they should know what they're doing, and I have had the feeling before that I haven't.
Right, and that's, again, that stays with your administration. I mean, the administration and everybody, they're bringing in the health department and the other agencies, and these are people that deal with this stuff every day. They see it every day. And I mean, it's just, go down through here, does this plat meet this? Boom, 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 boom. It's a yes or no answer, cut and dried answer. Even if it is brought back to the planning board, the planning board's not a quasi-judicial board, so they can't make a legal ruling on it. So I mean, why wouldn't you just let it be handled within the administration? And when we did it previously, we did it like that. It was a 3-day turnaround time at maximum. Everybody was happy, and there was a chicken in every pot and a Cadillac in every garage, Lamar, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think that's right.
But no, I agree. I mean, I'm just saying, I think that the administration is more than competent enough to review these things, and just making somebody wait for 30 days is, I just can't see that.
Well, it's a hardship when you do things like that.
And like Derek said, it's not a decision. All you're doing is comparing it for meet the technical aspects of this ordinance.
Which has already been done before it gets brought here. So
Well, why is it coming to the planning board anyway?
that was just a
Why
change
not
that
just
we made last time, the last revision.
When Leslie was here, I think she changed.
Why don't we,
I mean, that's making a planning board a regulatory board.
why can't we get rid of that?
With no regulatory authority.
Right, but that's what you're doing.
And I mean, I didn't like the feeling of voting for something that I wasn't sure about. So if I'm not required to vote, if it's somebody else's responsibility, then that's fine. I just don't want to
We
make
started
responsible
out.
decisions.
I was on there from the planning board on the technical review.
Right.
Yeah, because you would send it to me if there was. a
Yeah, and you
conflict.
were the alternate.
Yeah.
There's a member from the health department, a member from the code enforcement, the fire marshal's office, and a member of the planning. And the planner, that made it the technical review.
So it's a consensus now that language probably needs to come out. doesn't need to come back to the planning board.
Because I can
Put
see
the-
everybody else involved with it, I mean, fire marshal and all
Yeah,
that.
just put the old language back in.
The old technical review committee.
The old technical review committee, just put it back in. Because look at how much, look at how much it puts you in the, it puts us unneededly at odds with.
Yeah, I'll take it as a motion.
I'll make a motion that we.
Well, hold on, before you do, please, do you think it would be appropriate to let him pull that old language together and then bring it?
There's a reason I keep all ordinance.
It's golden a little bit.
Ready?
Not to reinvent the wheel.
All right, everybody listen. A committee established by this ordinance, technical review committee, a committee established by this ordinance and appointed by the local governing board to review all major subdivision, preliminary and final plats and to approve with conditions or disapprove such plats at a regularly scheduled monthly meeting. The committee shall consist of 5 members as follows: subdivision administrator, 1 member of Macon County Planning Board, and 1 representative of each of the following Macon County offices or agencies: Fire Marshal's Office, Environmental Health Department, and Code Enforcement. The only problem that I see with it is we don't never have a regular scheduled meeting. We just have to schedule a meeting.
Should you throw an erosion control officer in that?
Usually, well, I was the backup for Derek. I was the.
Right now, you're
on
performing
vacation.
both roles.
Right. Before, when I was erosion control, I was the assistant. Derek was out of town as subdivision administrator. He came to me. That was, if we had a hearing, I had to handle it.
So we need to add,
Everybody had an alternate.
but do we need to add, thinking forward, that we may have, you may not be doing this both jobs, do we need to add the sort of road
That's entirely up to you.
person to
I
that
think-
list?
I think
so
it's a very important piece of the puzzle.
that way, when it does split back up, it's done and over with, taken care of.
We're going to fill that position. But this does,
So that,
you want that person to be here this time.
that needs to be added. Then, what do we need to say about the language of the regular schedule?
This meeting, wouldn't that?
Yeah, we did a little bit like
Yeah.
Needed or within, probably I'll put it within so many days of notice.
Within 30 days.
Because, you know,
30 or 20.
Let's do
Business or calendar.
20, let's keep it.
Yeah, let's keep it consistent.
that's a month, so.
20 days.
Business day.
Now, we want him to read this back and let's approve it, or we want to get it inked and let the attorney look at it. I don't know why he would need to, but anyway, what's the pleasure?
Should we look at the business and calendar days? Because, that's 20 business days. That's still going to put us the same kind of hang-up, one of the hang-ups, that whereas if he submits it in, he could get it back. If there's nothing going on, he could get it back in 3 days.
Well, it's within 20 days.
Yeah, but it's just when the technical review people look at it. It doesn't have to be 20 days. It's more or less protecting them that it's not going to be pushed out for 6 months.
We need to say not to exceed.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Make you feel better.
Everybody gets to vacation next
Is that where you got that shot from?
Last time I was down there.
Did you have
Okay, moving on.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you.
We'll revisit, we'll get that reworded. Got that on plan.
15953, page, let's see, number 3, page 16. that same language is an approval for the preliminary process, and shouldn't be. Thanks, Warren.
Yeah, that,
Oh,
you had to do it in the preliminary and again in the final,
Right.
is the point I was bringing out there, and you shouldn't have to do that.
So technical review committee language.
They shouldn't even have to go, the technical review committee shouldn't have to approve the plan.
Preliminary, that's just complete. So,
Make a motion that
Clear up the mess.
we remove the language that states the professional, or that the technical review committee, well, it don't really state that. Remove that language from the. Well, yeah, remove the language that states that the preliminary plat should have to be approved by the technical review committee, because the new technical review committee did that. Not the plan board. So I'll make a motion that.
where you saying that at?
Down near the bottom.
Final plat is this, if the committee, during review of the final plat, the quorum.
what it's doing is,
That's the final plat, or preliminary.
it's saying final plat's approved by technical review committee.
159.52, remove the language that states the subdivider shall submit a preliminary plat to the subdivision administrator's office, which shall be reviewed by the technical review committee.
C is what you're talking about.
A, submission.
So who will it be reviewed by in the preliminary?
I think the administrator.
By the administration. Okay.
That way, you wouldn't have to have, or just put whoever it says, the subdivision administrator, that way he wouldn't have to convene all those people together to look at.
It's only on
Except
the
for the
final, yeah.
Yeah, except for the final, yeah, he wouldn't have to get together.
So what happens though if he did it the way that Matt told him to do it, and then you get this committee together that says he needs
10 more things, and he's
Right.
got to go back and get everybody, all his people or surveyor to go do something else.
I guess I just know that would never happen.
Yeah. I would rather have the technical review committee do it in the
I feel
beginning.
better already.
You sign off on the final, that all the conditions were met to what the technical review committee asked for.
Okay. You're saying flip flop.
I'd let the technical do it in the preliminary, and then you approve that everybody met their stipulations.
And that's sort of, it's what it's saying now, preliminary meets, the committee has the quorum, they vote. Then you flip over to page 16, and it says that they have to meet again for final.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have a meet for the final. I think it'd go on your back that you make sure
Well, it
they,
should.
yeah, that they did what they asked.
So your motion is that we remove the committee from the final and let the administrator approve
Approve the committee's conditions.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion?
before. So if the committee says it's okay, you get the X, Y, and Z, and then they end up moving the road 15 feet because they came across a bunch of rock. So that changes the grades in the road, potentially, in the shoulders. So now, do you have to reconvene the technical review committee to review that change?
It's a change.
Now, if they say you need to do this for the plat, do that, get a homeowner association, and they bring that in, then it's done.
But that would be a change to the,
So is there a provision for if there's a change in the preliminary to reconvene?
Maybe it's provision for change.
You have to allow someone to change.
There's got to be a variance, of course you do.
I think that it would be assumed that.
that's why you do a final.
But it would be assumed that if there was a change, then it would have to be reviewed. Would be my assumption.
I would assume so too, but I don't know that it says that.
Well, couldn't that just be at the discretion of the administrator?
Well, as long as the change didn't be less than the ordinance. I mean, if it's on road grade or something like that, as long as it's not.
Good, as long as it's
Yeah.
like the ordinance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
If you move the road 20 feet, and everything about the road still meets the ordinance, why would you need to get it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Change the configuration.
Right.
Well, yeah, as long as it, but then again, it take it into, it wouldn't be in compliance, so he shouldn't approve it anyhow. I mean, if it goes into the lot and takes it below the minimum,
In a situation like this, like Lamar said, where why don't we just give discretion to the administrator to make that decision?
I'm only partially okay with that.
Well,
Because I don't know that
I
that's
think
always.
he's already got that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Does he already have that on, or not, or?
Once we go back and he's approving the final, then you give him that discretion.
Well, I would agree with that.
The way it reads now says that the committee conditionally approves the final plat with modifications, subdivision administrator should obtain those. That it's approved by the committee, said approved, so they noted. So at this point, the committee would have to approve it at the very end to make sure it's in compliance. This is the way it is now. Somebody has got to verify it. It needs to be a committee or the administrator.
My question is, does the administrator want that responsibility on their shoulders?
Yeah, is he gonna certify Jimmy's stuff?
Shouldn't.
Right. Just leave it
Well,
that way.
then he could call the technical review committee back. He'd have that option, wouldn't
I think the administrator should have that option.
he? Yeah, if there's been major changes made or enough that he feels like it needs to be gone over
Or if
again.
they've not done a gate the way Jimmy wants to do it. Whatever.
Call him back, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think you would ask the appropriate people that I think you needed to ask. I mean, but if it's something, I think that you just would make the judgment on that.
Hope you're okay with that? Everybody else?
All right.
No change?
I mean, Susan, your comment, I think, is.
So that's, yeah, it's void.
Yes, sir.
Number 54, 159, 54. As-built plats. Personally, I feel language should be added that the subdivision administrator may require as-built plats. Instead of making all subdivisions submit as-built plats. Just for, to me, that's a huge expense.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a problem with Jimmy when he gets into road grades and turn radiuses.
We need to think about the difference in the as-built plat and the plat that's going to be recorded. Because that as-built plat needs to be a plat that's kept here with the county.
And that's what it says. It says,
Yeah.
shall provide as-built plat to the subdivision administrator and the homeowners association.
Ben was complaining bitterly about having to put a lot of stuff on the plat he's going to record.
Yeah, because it gets so
It don't
busy.
need to go on it.
No.
Not your as-built.
No,
And it
no.
doesn't,
I mean, anything need to be on the as-built plat. I mean, on the recording plat, except the pertinent information that has to be there at the lot.
we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
If you will.
Those as-bills, for those of us that have to follow other folks, I understand there's an expense involved in generating those, but I don't know that you put value on set of as-bills.
They'll be invaluable to the homeowners association.
Absolutely. Mill Creek's a perfect
I just
example.
want to find what we require on.
Maybe utilities.
We want them.
I just think code utility, I mean, to me, we don't need code.
Any underground utilities ought to be on.
Well, they all find the code.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see those.
Mhm.
I think iron water,
Power, anything like that.
well located.
Underground drainage pipe, we load up a bunch.
Well,
Well,
it's solution.
if I may, the way we do business now is this. We get a preliminary plat, and they'll start it. We'll go out and make an inspection. They say, well, we have to move this road. Then they provide us with a final plat showing that change. Can not the final plat just be that accurate? Instead of talking as well. I mean, is there a difference? in
Is that
definition of
final
this
plat a
word?
recordable
Because
plat?
then it becomes recorded.
And Lamar's saying all that on a final
too busy.
recordable plat is just gonna be busy.
Yeah, it gets,
There's enough on there already.
yeah.
So just do an on,
And as-built plats could be, they could be 2 or 3 sheets of, you could have a sheet with the utilities, a sheet. You'd have a lot of leeway with them.
We go with layers.
Yeah, you could have several sheets in it. But I really believe that in a big subdivision, an as-built plat, especially for underground utilities, would be.
Absolutely.
Can we do this? Can we put that road back in the cage, and while Matt's not doing anything, he's gonna come up with a list of what he thinks needs to be on those as-bills, and we'll bring that back before you. I think there's no question whether or not we need to have an as-bill. It doesn't need to be on the recordable map. The question is just how much information we want.
I was just gonna say, I'm not coming to excuse myself from my rider earlier.
yeah, that means I've gotta go. I'm not walking home. You wanna drive me home to Howell tonight? Maybe that. I think I'm gonna go.
Construction stopped.
Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of fun this year.
Good job, y'all. I'm sitting over here like an audible, just listening. Here we go. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're moving very efficiently. I like what you're doing. And I'm presuming when this is initially presented to us that it will be some type of, I think what you're highlighting, all the changes that you highlighted.
They'll be on the script.
So hopefully we'll shop on the streets. I don't mind being on some possibilities.
What I'll do, Jim, is shoot a copy of this, and take for our next meeting, so we get that to us.
I'll make sure it's here. I say that, don't trouble. But I'll chase it right.
Rabbits for everybody.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Tom.
I need that.
I gotta go.
We've got to finish 3 more points.
You got to have 7 people. I got the numbers here.
If you want, homeowner associations going to be online. It's good. It's not fun. We can stop and do that. 159-55 phase developments. We need to focus on triggers that create a phase development. We need a definition to explain phase development clearly. That's just language that Derek and I have run into. What can be considered phase development, what cannot be. Can Terry Dalton's subdivision be considered phase development? Or does Hawthorne, it's Terry would be phase development. We felt with what we have, we could do that.
So you're gonna have a lot of people that's gonna wanna do what Terry Dalton did.
And that's fine.
The biggest part of the last subdivisions I did was done.
That's fine. We just need to create an avenue for them to do that.
Yeah, now I'm not sure that I know exactly what I know to get us there, but it's not a bad way to do it. I mean, you wind up with actually a better subdivision if it's done right than some of the other stuff.
Especially septic systems. I mean, I'd go in there and buy a lot knowing that part of the year you have to have this field for septic. And I want to buy that over there just to keep him from building. It just seemed complicated to me, but.
Well, it's really not, and generally, it works better for septic because you've got room to get around what you need for septic. Which is always all kind of ways to do septic. Easements, we've done a lot of them.
I saw it, I mean, he had something there where he had it all lotted out. Because I know when he did that show for the open house or whatever, he had a thing there.
Yeah, I think we did that.
The other two are just
Very
clerical
plain, yeah.
issues.
Let's skip that. Go ahead.
We need to think about what will our change in the definition dealing with parent track, how will that affect that? How will that affect what we're talking about right now? Remember what we changed it to. So we're saying right now that if the parent track's not counted in the subdivision, then when you take off 3 lots of that 93 acres, say that encompasses 3 acres, then you've got a 90-acre parent track. You take off 3 more lots, now you've got an 87-acre parent track. You take off 3 more, now you've got an 84-acre parent track. And the parent track is not, that's where, look at it as a good thing or a bad thing. If I'm a developer, that's a great thing. That's where it's going to get us.
But there needs to be some avenue or some language in there. I mean, that's clearly for commerce. I mean, someone trying to, that's not just trying to pay a tax bill. I mean, that's trying to make money when you start cutting off 9 lots.
Well, how do you say?
The way I would think
Right, I
to
don't know.
distinguish between that, if the man's brought in a major subdivision preliminary plat, and he's going to be exempt from that parent tract because he doesn't have that situation.
And there it's going the other way. What if he's not saying it's a phased development when actually it is?
When his intent is to do that.
That goes into the timeline if you cut something.
Yeah, that would get the time thing.
I guess there is no way to, I mean, you can't read a man's mind, and you
But-
can't say,
Can't call them liars.
But as
yeah.
a developer, aren't the majority, and I know that we don't always deal with the majority, but Lamar, if I've got a 93-acre tract of land and I'm going to put roads through it, and I'm going to try to advertise it, and I'm going to try to sell it, I'm going to have a map of that.
Sure you are.
That I'm going to show people.
You're going to, it'd be hard to disguise the fact that you were building a subdivision.
And maybe that's how we tie it in. But what are you going to do, though? Go run him down and jerk his map out of his hand? You know, I mean.
Well, not only that, I mean,
What if you say the length of roads exceeds some
if
certain
he's out there
length?
building roads, he's going to have to apply for permits for those roads. You're going to know he's out there doing it.
And the subdivision ordinance attempted to address that when we set a length on the 1,320 square feet, but when we take the parent track out of the equation, we're now killing that.
What did we have, 1,300 square
If it
feet?
exceeds 1,320 feet in
Well,
a
then
subdivision, then it kicks
Road,
into a
okay,
major.
yeah.
So you can have 4 lots, but if you got 1,320 feet of road, you're a major subdivision.
Well,
Well, can you say that parent track's not counted as a lot, but land disturbance on that parent track?
That'd be
Or
county
some-
garden though.
I think that's something we need.
Yeah.
We're going to have to figure out how to differentiate. Clearly, I don't know how to.
it seemed to me like the key would be the roads. If you're out there building road, you're applying for erosion control plans for a mile of road. It's obvious he's doing a subdivision. I mean, that's,
I'd like to see how the other counties are handling
I
this.
don't know. I don't know that I can have the answer to that.
Have y'all looked at any other counties? That's what I'd like to see. Henderson or something like that.
We did a phased subdivision, Waterloo, the first one we did. But we started at the top of the property and built the road all the way up. And then we ended up with 5 different sections. And we'd do one section, put it on the market, and sell some of that, and we kept coming down the mountain. That's before all this started. But the road was 5 miles. The road was originally built at the top of that mountain. And we just took it in sections. At that time, you had to follow a certain number of lots rather than doing the state regulations. And it was done in 5 different sections, and it's one of the best subdivisions to this day that done in Macon County. There's a good ass.
Yeah, that would be good.
And it turned out real well. The roads was a certain standard of width. And at that time, they didn't let us do a homeowners association until we sold the lots and the people in there owned it. years ago, it worked out real well. But it was a phased subdivision, because at that time, you put all your money into the roads and started, and we started at the top, so we didn't sell off the bottom, and we still at the top. And it sold real good, and to this day, it's still in the subdivision.
You got any thoughts? I mean, I don't know. I think we've got it to where we know what we've got to define. The question is how we're going to define it.
Well, maybe Chester can help us. You know, there is a lot of ways of working you can do if you're good at it. I don't know. I'm not so good at that.
Because if you take Peggy's example, if she's built 5 miles of road in there, but she's gonna divide, she's gonna divide 3 lots, 4 lots, counting the parent track on top, or 5, or however many, 6 on the top. And that's gonna be her, the parent track's gonna remain exempt. And if she wants to cut another lot off down here, you got the top up here, and she wants to cut another lot off down here, the parent track's gonna remain exempt. If she wants to go over here, the parent track's gonna remain exempt.
Maybe it's the road
What
building.
you
Maybe you have to say that
understand.
we have to, the parent track to be exempt if it
That's
has
what
a
you're
road
going to have to be
building.
careful
Yeah.
about. Is how you define that, because that's, could exactly, that could just work right around it. And you're not worried about it.
Would
Work right around it.
it be practical to have, say, your technical review committee take a look at something that we just questioned? I mean, it's pretty obvious to me what I'm talking about, the people that need help with this. And it's certainly not people that are developers, it's people that legitimately need to sell 2 or 3 lots off their piece of property without being a developer.
Well, would the road on the parent track do it?
That the parent tract would be exempt if there was no road building?
Well, you gotta have a road if you're gonna get to the law. I mean, that's obvious.
That would fix it, where we were talking about earlier, that would fix it if there's something on it. If there's a house on it,
Yeah.
then you can tie it straight to the road. But what if I'm gonna sell 5 acres?
And they're not,
Peggy did.
they're not the bottom ones, the accessible ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut 5 acres.
Yeah, there'll be instances, a man's gonna farm, he wants to cut 5 acres out of a trail, he needs the money.
And it's raw land.
Yeah.
See, that's why I say the building part's easy, because you tie it back to the road, you gotta really get it. The raw land.
And we've got another one right now that had 2 houses on it, and it had roads going to other pieces of property. Well, we subdivided the little tract of houses on it and sold 2 houses, which will still have that section. Then we've got another 11 acres that goes up the mountain that we've not done anything to put a road into. And it would be a different subdivision if it's ever subdivided. And then there's a field down there that joins some other property that we've got. And we bought it just to keep that portion. So, we've got it broken into 3 different categories. And it's never going to be all subdivided. But we did need to sell the houses because we didn't want them for the thing in the world, so, and we built roads on part of it, and part of it had roads, and it was kind of a crossroad. So there's a lot of variances out there in subdivisions.
Well, it's very, very difficult to put everything in your words. There won't be some gray areas. I mean, somebody with some common sense and discretion to say, well, that's practical to do that.
And I don't think that there's any way we can write an ordinance that we can have that.
No, I don't think so.
I think that's why it's recognized early on that there needs to be a review of this thing, and we'll work on it as we go along.
I don't know where you're going, but there's one thing that we really haven't talked about at all, definitely need to talk about. And that's that bond.
That'll come up later.
Okay. We ain't got that yet. Okay.
So we want to have Chester look at the definition and see what we can do with that, and then we'll run it back.
15956, to add final to the title. I think the intent was to be titled information to be contained in or depicted on the preliminary, final, and as-built plan. And that's just, that's one of those language things, just, yes, yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
No, not if we're saying that all
Well,
this
read-
stuff's got to be on the final.
Read the next sentence under the title. It says the preliminary, final, and as-built plat shall depict them. It already says it. We need to title it like it says it or change whatever you want to change it.
Well, the final plat, now to me, the final plat's plat you're going to record. And they don't need none of them, a lot of the utilities and, I don't know that it even needs a road names. It needs a right-of-way widths and things like that. It certainly don't need to show the sewer and the water lines and all of that stuff on the final plat you're going to record. That needs to be on the as-built plat, but not the final plat.
You want to stop there?
I think we just want us to put it that way, it's already waiting behind, so let's.
Well, we're just gonna get the stuff together for the preliminary, then we just need to have one as-built and then a final.
Yeah.
Just two different categories, just break this up into two categories.
It's one of the changes.
Mark, can we pick that up next meeting?
Oh, sure, yeah,
Okay, let's do that. We will, get the minutes out in a timely fashion.
It's 3 weeks past.
That way we're prepared.
When is our next meeting?
I'll tell you,
Next meeting date is?
It was the 19th. Yeah, and that was awesome. You got the minutes out Saturday last time. That's usually it. I'm serious.
19th of July. Anybody got a conflict with that day?
Here.
same place, same back.
Next up.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Opposed?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Good meeting.